AFT. It's Braun, Kratz, and Pierzynski. And happy midway through the season for some teams. We're about there. Does it feel like we're about there, AJ? Do you feel like we're midway through the season?
Yeah. I feel like some teams feel like they're almost done with the season already, depending on who you root for. But yeah, there are some teams that wish the season was over. But yeah, it feels like we're about halfway. You can tell when you listen to guys talk, they're kind of getting to the dog days now. Everyone says the dog days of August. For me, it was more June, July. Just trying to get to the All-Star break was the toughest, because then once you hit the All-Star break, it was like push time again.
Yeah, and also if you listen to Fair Territory right before our show, if you were on the FT YouTube channel, Ken talked about how some teams remind everyone that the season is long, which we'll get to in a moment because you can't count teams out. But I have two quick things before we start. Number one, a stat that maybe Kratz you'll like. The top 5 teams in runs per game are the same top 5 teams in ERA. Not in that order, but it's 5 teams that are the best in scoring and 5 teams that are the best in run prevention if you take out errors. You guys want to guess which teams those are?
The teams that are winning?
Yeah, obviously. Do you want to guess which teams those 5 are? You probably can get them pretty easily.
Phillies.
Yep.
Orioles.
Yep.
Yankees.
Yep.
Braves?
No. AJ, want to jump in? 2 left.
Indians. Guardians.
Guardians.
Yes. Missing a big one.
The top 5 are the Dodgers, of course.
Yeah, Dodgers. Yeah. Remember the team that everyone said in the offseason that doesn't even need to play because they win, best ever, all of that. One more quick note. Alex Fast said that the Fangraphs WAR for Gunnar Henderson is 5.9. The Fangraphs WAR for the White Sox, Marlins, Pirates, Rockies, and Angels equals 5 altogether. So I just thought that was some good halfway through the season stats for you. I'll do one.
That is
more
where WAR actually gets it right. That is it. WAR gets it spot on there. So that is perfect.
One Gunnar Henderson equals all of these teams.
Yeah, perfect.
Yes, nailed it. All right, let's charge the damn mound.
Charge the mound.
Shocker, or maybe not. The New York Mets are better than the New York Yankees right now. Yankees are losers of 8 of 10. They got smacked by the Mets in Game 2, which featured an epic rain delay. It was monsooning here in the New York City area. I'm in the area right now, but any surprise to this one? I know it's just a 2-gamer, but the Mets look different right now, and their lineup looks lengthier with Francisco Alvarez on a run, and he's back, and also Mark Vientos looking like he should be the third baseman of the future for the Metropolitans.
Vientos is starting pitching. Yeah, but Vientos has been the key for me. The rest of the guys are kind of doing what they're doing. Alvarez coming back, obviously, but Vientos, the way he's been swinging it, and yeah, like Kratz said, the starting pitching has been unbelievable for him. It's been really good for him. Their bullpen, even though they lost Diaz, has been locked down. I mean, it's been a good run. What is it? They're 22-3 the last 25 games with Alvarez starting behind the plate or something like that. So, I mean, don't tell me he doesn't mean anything. And what are they, 11-2 since Grimace showed up? So, I mean, Grimace and Alvarez, that's who should run for president in New York.
President or mayor?
I mean, maybe mayor or governor. I don't know. But governor. Yeah. Who's
governor?
the governor?
Did you see they were lighting up Empey, the Empire State Building, purple for Grimace, but it also had the shot with the lightning going across it. It was pretty cool. That was real, by the way. But Kratz, are you buying the Mets and selling the Yankees, or just more buying the Mets?
I was going to say, you said that was real. I was going to say, are the Mets real? Are they able to who in their rotation is going to anchor this rotation? To do it, like they've gotten to where they are because they're 22-3 in their last 25 with Alvarez in there. Alvarez is going to play every day. He is that type of catcher, so that's a lockdown. Is this starting staff going to be able to do what they've been doing the rest of the time? Who is it? McGill, Severino's been unbelievable. They don't have Maeda. That's what people keep saying. David Peterson's on his, third or fifth start?
Wait, what are you talking about Maeda?
Huh?
Manaea?
I'm sorry. Manaya's is he exactly what he's been in this last stretch of games since Grimace came out, or is he going to regress? I think this lineup is going to bang. We said that from the beginning, and they didn't, and now they're going to start doing that. So to me, their starting rotation doesn't need to be what they are right now. They just need to stay healthy. And I don't know if they have enough depth to continue this into the rest of the season.
Well, they certainly think so. And AJ, because of the way that this team operates, if they're in this range in the next few weeks, they're not going to sell just based on who they are, where they stand. I don't know if they'll buy like crazy, but you can't see them selling. And is that the right choice? Right now, they're 1.5 games back of San Diego, and the Padres actually are on a heater now, too. They had a 6-1 homestand. Higgy with 2 home runs, shout out. But anyway, there are a lot of teams that are kind of coming back to earth. The Cardinals were counted out, too. We've talked about the Mets and the Cardinals as sellers, and both of those organizations are not going to throw in the towel if they're in this range. If they're within 3 to 4 games of a wild card spot, they're going to stand pat or most likely buy a little bit.
Yeah, they're the Mets aren't selling right now. They're a game and a half out. And by the way, Higgy might win Player of the Month in the National League.
Really?
If you haven't seen his numbers, but he's got 7 homers in the month. I mean, he's doing pretty well in limited at bats. So check out his numbers. But listen, the Mets aren't going to sell. The Padres aren't going to sell. The Cardinals aren't going to sell. The Diamondbacks are interesting because they're right there. What will the Pirates do? The Mets aren't going to sell because Steve Cohen is like, I want to make the playoffs and I want to get that money and I want to make my fans happy. And he's a fan too, which is what makes him a great owner because he doesn't ever want to give up. And the Mets aren't going to give up. If they're at 500 and they're a game out in a month from now, guess what? They might go out and get someone and shock the world and be like, damn, we didn't see the Mets getting whoever, blank or a starting pitcher or a position player or a reliever. I mean, we didn't see it, but listen, Steve Cohen will tell Mr. Stearns up there to go get somebody we need.
Yeah, could the Mets be last year's Diamondbacks? I know it's a very different brand of baseball, but Kratz, here's the trade I could see the Mets make if they're within range at the trade deadline. A move for a longer-term starting pitcher, even if it hurts. Because they're not just about this year. It's not all in or nothing this year, which for some teams, they should be thinking that way. The Mets have been trying to do a mini reload, and they don't want to get off course, but their farm system's in a much better place, and they know they're going to need starting pitching regardless. Like, this is not a full-fledged rotation right now.
Totally. And unfortunately, when you get somebody who has some more years after this year, that person might not necessarily slot in for your playoff rotation. When I think about making trades at the trade deadline, I think about playoff rotation. But I agree with you that they could get somebody that will be here for next year and possibly the next year after that. It's going to take a lot to get somebody that's got a lot of team control. Obviously, Fetty's name always comes up. He would be around for next year. He would be a nice innings eater for next year. I just question the teams that are right on that bubble, all that they've done to get there, and then you sit there and go, well, we need a big splash. We need this big splash. When a team like the Pirates are right on that fringe, if they make a big splash and they have those top 3 guys in a playoff rotation, they're a legitimate shot in the playoffs. I just don't see who's going to step up outside of Severino for the Mets if they make the playoffs. Are they just going to bludgeon teams to death with their lineup? I don't think so.
Okay, we'll see. Let's flip to the Yankee side for a few minutes. I want to talk Glaber, but first, Juan Soto. Let's play some sound from the Mets broadcast.
Soto's playing the shallow right field.
Sure is. He's been a liability out there. You wonder why they want to play him in the deepest corner outfield position in this ballpark.
That's Keith Hernandez on the Mets call. Well, forget it. They're not signing Soto now. He heard that. It's over.
Dude,
Do you agree with him?
The Mets broadcast is savage, by the way. Aaron Boone called his hitter savage. The Mets broadcast is savage, man. They're taking shots at dudes left and right. And yeah, I mean, listen, Ron Darling said it, and then I saw 3 or 4 balls at least go over Soto's head into that corner. A couple of them were home runs, but that one was a fly ball that hit on the warning track that probably most right fielders, I don't want to say catch, but have a good chance at catching. He wasn't really that close to it. If you're going to play shallow, you better be really good at going back on the ball. And I think what Darling said was correct. I mean, he's used to playing in Yankee Stadium, and there's like 30 more feet behind him at Citi Field versus Yankee Stadium. So maybe the Yankees need to back him up just a little bit, give up a single instead of extra base hits.
I love it. Tell him what you think. I don't think that's not his team. I don't think it's not going to deter Juan from taking $600 million of Steve Cohen's money. Like, that's not going to happen. And you know what? If that's a deficiency that he has going back, the Yankees should know this, and they should put him in a spot where they want him to be able to create the most value in right field. And he hasn't been awful out there, but he wasn't wrong. He did get burned.
Yep. I don't think he's ever going to be a great outfielder, and it's probably not going to age well out there. But the bat's so freaking good. It is what it is. You know what you're getting. Yep. Like you're hoping it's average in the outfield, but even if it's a little below average, it's fine. It is what it is, you know. Lastly, Gleyber Torres actually did get benched, and part of it did have to do with him not running out that ground ball. Kratz, I mean, you know Booney, you played for him. Did he mean him not running out that ground ball in the 8th inning 2 days ago was a factor from lack of hustle, or he felt like he needed a blow because if he really feels like he's a little hurt, he should sit? Because there's the line from Boone. He said, that certainly got my attention, the grounder. But he also said during that interview, he's okay physically. The hip groin issue is nothing that's too significant. So that to me sounds like a call out.
The first part, no, I didn't think it was a call out. The first part, I was just like, okay, well, maybe he's tired. Maybe just like we talked about, like you can't run everything out. So you give him a blow. But the second one, saying that the hip, whatever groin thing, rarely does Booney call guys out in the media. But it's also, to me, it's more of a case-to-case basis. If you call me out in the media, it might mean a lot less than somebody calling AJ out in the media or Gleyber out in the media. So I think you have to handle it different ways. And Booney, having him as manager, he is very, very locked in to what each player needs and what motivates them. So maybe he felt like if that's what he meant by this, like as kind of a call out, maybe he meant to do it. And it's what he thinks is going to get Gleyber going. Because yesterday he said, oh, he needs to get going. Like, we need him. Like, we need his bat. So maybe this was like hey, you're sitting down, you need to get going and hit some dingers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it had to happen after what happened the day before, but I want to talk about the Mets fans. Like, how into the series are the Mets? How hot are the Mets? How good are the Mets fans feeling? Between all the Grimace people, look at Grimace chugging a beer. Yeah, and all the people taking photos, that's pretty awesome. I mean, Empire State Building was lit up like that, and then you have Grimace chugging beers on top of a bar. That's pretty awesome. And then you got this dude. I mean, this guy ain't from New Jersey. I don't know where he's from. But, I mean, he's standing under this thing. He also chugged that beer, but the beer that was full of water. But why would you do that? Like, unless you want to get on TV and you want to get on Instagram and Twitter and everything, why would you do that?
It's a free shower, dude. It's a free shower. Do you know how expensive New York is for everything? You get a free shower. You got to take that.
Listen,
water bill is expensive.
Everything.
Mets fans are on fire right now, though, and they whoop their butt. Except for this guy. This guy's not very much on fire. He got arrested, apparently, cuffed and stuffed right here. In mid-pitch, too, by the way. And, of course, they catch that on the camera, which is awesome. But, listen, man, the Mets fans right now sweep the Yankees, Grimace, Francisco Alvarez. They are on fire right now.
Yeah.
Is it New York? Is it the Mets New York now? Is it the Mets New York right now? Like the last 13, 15 games. The Yankees have lost 4 straight series.
It is for 48 hours because they just swept them.
Yes, exactly. Sure, it's theirs for the week because the Mets were 24-35 on June 2nd, and look at them now back to 500. We'll talk about another team that has made an epic rise over the past week or so. The Astros keep winning, and we're going to talk to Logan O'Hoppe soon on FT. Game preview time. Seat Geek is the official ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. They've got you covered for your baseball ticket needs, and there are more than 70,000 events on Seat Geek, including concerts and festivals and a whole lot more. So let's pick one. Who wants to start? Raise your hand. You got a ticket on Seat Geek. Where are you going?
I raised my hand yesterday, so AJ can go first.
I'm going to the White Sox. Why? Because I want to see Chris Sale pitch against him, and he could punch out 100 because he's going to be fired up, and the Braves need him to pitch well. They've been playing well. It's a makeup game from earlier in the year, so Chris Sale they changed the rotation around to make sure he pitched in Chicago. So, boy.
Did they really? Wow, I didn't know they changed the rotation around. I love that. That might be somebody's lock later in the game. But I have to go to the 6. The Yankees are reeling. The Blue Jays are reeling. Who is going to step up? Early in the season, it was Rodon. Is he still going to be that guy, or is he kind of like, okay, I'm kind of cruise control now? He needs to step on the throttle and crush the Jays today.
Yeah, good call. And the Yankees have like their throwback jersey dress up on the plane. It's not a happy flight up to Toronto, but quick recovery it could be. I like Cleveland, Kansas City, just because those two teams have been surprises and should be a fun series. Also, Jack Flaherty pitching for Detroit if you're in the Anaheim area. Each ticket on SeatGeek is rated on a scale of 1 to 10. So you look for the green dots, which means good. Red means bad in terms of the quality of where you're looking. So they help you out. And we have the promo code FOUL, FOUL, for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. It's $20 off your first purchase with the promo code FOUL. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app. That's SeatGeek. And we have Logan O'Hoppe, Angels catcher, ready to go. We can ask him about Jack Flaherty and some other things coming up on FT when we swing back in just mere seconds. It's FT on YouTube and Bally Sports TV and the app, and Logan O'Hoppe back on the show with us. Angels catcher. Logan, good to see you, dude. How you doing?
Good to see you guys too. Appreciate having me. Doing all right. Doing good. Boys have been playing well the past few days, so all is right in the world at the moment.
I like that. So can that continue against the Tigers tonight? You've got Jack Flaherty. Flaherty's been more like the guy we saw a few years ago, before you were in the bigs, actually. But what kind of homework do you do in general? Like, I feel like this is a good time to just get your routine in terms of what you're preparing for at the plate. So have you already watched video of Flaherty, or do you do that closer to game time?
No, I do a lot of my game plan in the morning. Most of it is on their lineup in the starter we have that day. But after that, I'll go into the starter we're facing that day on the offensive side and probably spend about 15, 20 minutes breaking it down, whether it's last outing or different things I want to look for, and then write down a pretty quick plan. The more simple the plan is, then the better off I am. So trying to keep it as simple as I can and not take all the information and try to come up with something crazy. But yeah, it's not too long of a process, but I definitely get to the field with some homework done.
Before we get too far into this interview, can you show your shirt a little bit, please?
Got it yesterday. Yeah.
Really? You don't know nothing about the Hamptons, first of all.
Oh, stop.
I mean, you're from way out east, okay? So I know you wore that just because you knew you were going to talk to me today. So I really appreciated the hometown love. So thank you for wearing that today.
Oh man, I actually got it yesterday. The company first board hooked it up. So yeah, I mean, had to. I'm a little homesick this year, not gonna lie. So I had to get something to remind
Yeah,
me
but
of
see,
home.
but people don't understand is you're from like West Islip, which is like way towards the city, right? Us that are out east, that were born in the Hamptons, like that's two completely different people. Like we're hardworking farmers out there on the East End, and you West Enders are city folks. So like, I don't know that I'm okay with you wearing this shirt.
Don't
I'm gonna
take that,
fact check
Logan.
you right now. It's gonna help my cause. So I went to high school in West Islip, but I'm from Sayville, even further out east. So
Okay.
not quite out in the Hamptons, but I'm out towards you guys. So I think it's fair to claim the Hamptons and wear the shirt a little bit.
Okay, all right, that's fair. That's fair. I'm going to let Kratz go to the baseball stuff now that I made sure that you were okay. Now we'll let Kratz go to the baseball.
You won your court case.
Fair enough.
I might claim to have played for like a billion teams, but AJ claims to have lived at like a billion places. Like he claims New York, all of Florida except for the Panhandle, Chicago. He loves San Diego. All of his SEAL buddies are out in San Diego. So it's like, don't let him harass you and troll you.
I won't give him too much crap because I feel like I'm starting to claim different places I've been to. I feel like I've been all over the place.
He's in Anaheim. Anaheim.
Oh, he's in Los Angeles.
California, cool.
He's in Los Angeles now, not Anaheim. They don't
True.
call him.
True.
Yeah, that's what I said last year, my first year up. I was like, yeah, I'm out in LA, but now that I'm out here and actually have my feet wet, I'm trying to avoid that label at all costs.
Okay. Well, hey, you said I'm doing pretty good because the boys have won a few. How does your mood change winning and losing?
It's been something I've been trying to work on a little bit because I feel like my headspace it directly correlates to whether we're winning games or not. Because I'm not very good of a person if we're losing, and I feel like I'm in a much better spot if we are winning. But no, like I said, I've been feeling great, and yeah, it's a pretty direct correlation how I'm feeling.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Because people don't understand, and after I quit, I didn't even actually understand like how much of a jerk I was when things weren't going well. Because it was like you get away from it, and then you see someone else have a struggle or your team losing, and you're like, oh man, I can feel that feeling. That wait a minute, and then I asked my wife, and I'm like, she's like, yeah, it wasn't great, and I wasn't even a sore loser.
Yeah. No, it's tough, and I just feel like, especially in the big leagues now, everything's so magnified. And what I'm learning about Anaheim especially is that Orange County is a lot smaller than I anticipated. So even if we're not going so well, even going to a coffee shop or walking around the town, you just feel like everybody knows that you're not doing well, And on the flip side of that, like it's a good feeling when you're doing well because then you feel like it's the opposite to a point, but. Yeah, it's tough. It's more so when my head hits my pillow. I'm living alone here. You got a lot of time to think, but it's something I'm working through and trying to always figure out. But like I keep going back to it, the past couple of days definitely helps.
Yeah. First of all, you're a single guy in the big leagues in Anaheim. I think you're doing just fine. I mean, let's not try to make this like, oh, woe is me, I'm out here by myself. Okay, there's a lot worse places you could be. I mean, I'm sure you're probably like in Newport. You're hitting all the beaches. You're combing the beaches slowly, but the worst places you could be.
No, my girlfriend comes every couple of weeks. She's up in Fresno, so I'm not alone all the time. And my parents are coming out this weekend actually, so yeah, I'm not alone all the time. But more times than not, I am. But yeah, I mean the beaches definitely help. I'll wake up and go surfing in the morning, try to get my mind off things a little bit. But yeah, for the most part, I'm learning with it.
All right, good. Yeah, good answer. Because no one's going to feel sorry for you living in Anaheim or wherever it is you're living. So, all right, I played for Wash in 2013. By the way, I've done like 3 Anaheim games. I haven't seen you one time, so you must hide when I come into town.
Okay,
but that's a whole different story because I've
not really
talked
in the clubhouse too much. So,
where are you? Not in the training room, surely.
Buys and tries.
Either probably outside or in the cage, or just talking up with Jay Wash in the cage, or navigating a lineup, whatever it is, but. That clubhouse, I feel like, is the one spot that I do have to think. So I try to stay out of there and try to keep working.
Okay. Well, have you seen what Wash has said the last couple of days? He said about Neto and the iPad. You ain't finding the answer on the iPad. And then
I actually didn't. I know I know it happened yesterday. Neto came over for dinner last night, so we had talked a little bit about it, but I didn't see the comments, though.
Oh, no. Wash just told, I guess in his press conference yesterday, he said Neto, after his at-bats, is digging into his iPad. And he looked at him and goes, you ain't finding the answers in that iPad. Go find them somewhere else. So, I mean, that's typical Wash. And then he said something about Shanwell. Shanwell sleeps too much, so he can't play day games because he never wakes up in time. I mean, are these the most Wash comments of all time? Because having played for him for a year and listening to him talk and some of the things he says, they're outlandish, but they're also a lot of times they're spot on what he's saying.
Yeah, Wash is as advertised. He'll hold you accountable and tell you how it is, which we appreciate as players, and I feel like we've all grown a lot from working with him for however long it's been. But yeah, it's really cool to see him do things like that and really make yourself look in the mirror and ask yourself if you're doing everything you can to improve and doing it the right way. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool to see every day.
Logan, can you explain some differences between him and Phil Nevin from last year? Obviously, they're very different. And do you think that some of Wash's uniqueness helps a team like yours that has so many young guys, some of which didn't spend much time in the minor leagues? Like I remember, Wash talking to us about how the team meeting in the first week, which is unconventional, but it actually helped in that short stretch. And then also, I think, doing some extra work on the field. Do you think that's good for a younger team that might not have their routine down pat?
I feel like I've been lucky enough to know my routine and know what I need to do and know the amount of work I need to do. I really learned that in the minor leagues like you said, that not a lot of guys got to go through. I think the 4 years in the minor leagues really helped me understand that. As far as the difference between Nev and Wash, I mean, I love Nev. They're both great. I mean, there's nothing, I can't pick out anything negative of either one of them that didn't help that room progress and grow. So I know there are a lot of other changes that led to different things, but yeah, I think Wash brings his set of values to the table that we appreciate, and Nev did too. So they're two good people that I'm lucky enough to have learned from and work with.
You're working with Tyler Anderson, one of your better consistent pitchers right now. Mm-hmm. Is it tough, like growing that relationship, essentially knowing that come July, he's most likely on the trade block, and you're like, is there a sense of you where you sit there and go, all right, yeah, we'll work on this, but I got to put a little more time into the other guys, or can you still be there with him as a teammate?
No, the most important game is that night. We try not to get wrapped up in what's coming or the deadlines or anything like that. That's all out of our control and something I would have worried about when I was younger for sure. But I mean, you guys know it's a lot to prepare for a game that night. So if we think about anything else, it's just going to make our workload even heavier and job harder. So no, that night is what we're focused on, and TA's been a great one to work with, and I've learned a lot from him, and just appreciate all he's helped me with.
Who's easier to work with, TA or Ben Joyce?
Talk about two different people. I mean, it's yeah, I think they're just at two obviously different points in their career. Like TA's been doing it for so long and understands it, and Benny's coming in throwing heat, and we're both learning. So I don't know if one's easier or harder to work with. They're just very different people and different pitchers on the mound. But it's pretty fun when both of them come in because they've both been pretty good for us.
Hey, Logan, go ahead.
No, Logan, when you go tonight, you're talking about all your preparation. I mean, you're getting Jack Flaherty tonight. He's striking out everybody. Are you going to try to do something different when you go up there tonight and you face him because he's running up there 98, and then with the slider he's been throwing? Is there a different approach you take to different pitchers, or does it just depend on how you feel that day?
Different things I'm looking for, but as far as what I'm trying to accomplish, it's all the same. I actually enjoy facing the guys that are doing better even more because then it helps me lock in a little bit more, and it's a good challenge. I feel like you got to be on your game with guys like that, and I really enjoy that part of it. So I won't say I'm trying to do anything differently, but it's definitely fun to be able to compete with guys like that.
Okay, so you said what you're looking for. You got a tip on him? You going to tell us that he's like flaring his glove on the slider or doing a little something?
Actually, when I hit the link to join, I was in the middle of the lineup, so I haven't gotten to him quite yet. But yeah,
Well,
if you call me back.
Wait, hold up. So you sit at home and you go through the team that you're going to play, and you're like, I know you're a big journaler, so do you like write down what you're going to do, and then you go into the meeting and you say, okay, guys, here's my journal, and here's what we're going to do? That's
exactly it. Yeah, I'll probably spend hour and a half every morning going through it, and then by the time the meeting comes, I mean, if I have any questions or any holes in that meeting, then it's too late. So I try to get to the field as prepared as I can be.
Damn, you're an overachiever, bro. You're trying.
Nope.
You're a try harder, man. I never did that in my life. I never did that in my life. I love it. I'm proud of you, though. I'm so proud. I never did that. Are you kidding me?
You were so prepared and so locked into what your pitcher needed. You might not have gone through the iPad, made the scouting report, and all that stuff.
We didn't have an iPad. We had VHS.
Yeah, you had 8 tracks. No, but you were prepared for your pitcher. Like, you had all your superstitions and everything you did for your pitcher. That's just what he does. He does the iPad stuff. He prepares a different way. You were just as locked in as he's locked in. Don't try to shame him out of his iPad.
I'm not shaming him out of it. I'm proud of him. You know, us Strong Island guys, we got to stick together, Kratz. You would know about that, okay?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't know about that. You can't trust anybody that's on an island. It's like a pitcher. They're on an island. Logan, you're talking about getting ready for the game and talking about Flaherty. Is there anything you don't watch? Because I knew there was guys that would not watch dudes striking other guys out. You know how you watch, like, I want to watch a comparable hitter against Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty's got 14 punch outs, 11 punch outs. Do you do anything crazy like that? Or do you just watch all dig me film of like dudes going yard, having good at bats? What do you watch?
Most of it's their last outing or most recent outing, whatever it is. So no, I try not to look at the results of the hitters, but I just try to look at what he's trying to do up there.
Logan, your coaching staff, I know a lot of your coaches very well. EY, obviously. Did you know EY's son is like is a very famous actor? Has he talked to you about that?
You know, he was in the clubhouse a couple times, and then I heard it like after him being around for a couple days. And I mean, it was pretty cool to hear, you know, but I love E, and he's a really good dude to have in there.
Okay, and then you have Bo Porter, your first base coach, who I played for. He was third base coach. Does he ever shut up?
I've learned a lot from Bo. I love Bo.
I mean, I love Bo too, but
that's not what he asked. That's not what
I asked.
Yeah, answer the question.
Bo's is as great as anybody else. Yeah, I mean, contributes in the innings. Yeah. Okay,
and then last but not least, Jason Nix. Obviously, I don't know what his title is for you guys. He's like the offensive coordinator or something. So I played with him, and we used to call him the little ball of hate. So when you see him today, just go up to him and say, "Hey, you little ball of hate," and I guarantee you he'll start laughing. He'll be like, "I know who you talked to today," because he used to just be so wound, so tight, and there was never a smile. He could go out and get 5 hits, hit 4 homers, and he'd just be, "What am I going to do tomorrow?" Oh, so mad. So Canerico and his nickname was the little ball of hate. So when you see Jason Nix today, just say that to him, and he might actually smile for you.
That's good. I actually look up to Nixie as far as that goes, like the ability to just like keep an even keel and control his emotions. It's something I definitely try to.
Being angry is not controlling your emotions.
Exactly.
He is always just
seen that side of him yet, so haven't seen
That's better than the guy who does that when he has a bad day, even if the team wins, right? If he's always the same dude, he's the same dude. He's just always got his poker face on, right? Yeah. You guys say you want to see the guy look the same after every game, right?
Okay.
That's fair. But you'd much rather have a guy be happy. At least they're happy all the time.
Only when they win a World Series. He wants a World Series or he's pissed.
Well, I mean, he might even be pissed after he wins that. So
we lost the World Series. We lost the World Series together, and he was still pissed.
As he should be. If you're not first, you're last. Logan, great to have you, dude. Keep doing your thing. You rep the Hamptons more than AJ does. And we'll talk to you in a few weeks, all right?
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Logan O'Hoppe from the Angels with us on FTBRB.
But what has he brought to the team? Because his first 2 starts have been pretty darn good.
Would he kill me right now, AJ, if I said all the jerseys are still in pristine shape.
No, he would actually like that quote. So yes, he would appreciate that.
I really, gosh, I wish I could be around the team a little bit more right now so that I could talk to Chris again, because the last time I saw him was naturally in Chicago, and he's gone through a lot, as you just mentioned, since you guys were together. I think for me, the most exciting part is he appears to be very healthy, and we're seeing at 35 what he's still capable of doing. What I love about what Chris brings to this clubhouse is the edge. The competitor who's not afraid to speak out, outspoken, tell you how it is. And I think there was a part of me last year when the Braves went through what they went through with the Phillies series there in the postseason, and I felt like some of the guys who would probably own up to saying something or doing something were trying to take the high road in that instance, and something that I feel like to this day got completely overblown. But Chris Sale is a guy who comes in and is not afraid to tell you how it is. And if he says something, he's not afraid to back it up, no matter if people like what he said, don't like what he said. I just love that competitiveness and that edginess with this clubhouse. And of course, the guy who, as you know, AJ, right, puts in the work. You see the work every day. The results are on the field. And I think he's a perfect fit for this clubhouse. And I'm really excited for him if he's healthy. I could tell with the ovation the other day, leaving the field, he even spoke about it at this point in his career, what even a moment like that means for him. It's been cool to see him in this sort of second chapter of his career, and I'm excited for what it means for this Braves team and for the fans.
Make sure you check out the FT Leadoff newsletter. It comes in every Monday morning and Thursday morning. If you're watching right now, you can scan the QR code on your screen. Otherwise, I'll post the description, or I'll post a link in the description of the pod. And also, I just did that in the chat. We work hard behind the scenes to put that together. So make sure you check it out and subscribe to everything FT, podcast, YouTube, etc. Got to talk Stros. Season high 7 wins in a row. I get it. It was the Rockies the last 2 games, but got to talk Astros. They took care of business. Former Houston Astro, Erik Kratz, looking proud right now. This team won, or has made it to 7 consecutive postseasons. Their rotation is essentially in shambles. One bit of news I'll mix in here is JP France is now done for the year. He wasn't contributing much this year. Clearly, he was hurt. He's having shoulder surgery. Last year, he was a high 3 ERA. I think that was his rookie season. He was a pretty solid contributor for them in like 130-something innings. This year, bad in 5 starts, gets sent down after 1 start. Looks like he's hurt. The team kind of admitted they might have rushed him back in spring training. So you add it all up, he's out. Urquidy's out. Javier's out. Waiting for McCullers and Luis Garcia, but hopefully at least one of them returns. I think Garcia may be more likely. Haven't heard that many updates about McCullers lately. Verlander dealing with the neck issue still. And yet this team has won 7 in a row. They're back to 500, and they are very much going to be buyers at the trade deadline. Bregman's on fire. Altuve's looking like Altuve. Kyle Tucker's out too, Kratz. It's crazy how many dudes they're missing. They're the definition of why excuses shouldn't matter. You need to build depth.
And can I just rewind everything I said about the Mets and just replace it? No grimace talk, no purple Empire State Building, and just put in the word Astros. this lineup is going to hit. When you don't have Kyle Tucker, what Kyle Tucker was doing, when you don't have him in the lineup and you win 7 in a row, and people are going to say, "Oh, who cares? They weren't playing anybody." They lost to Oakland. I'm not sure what we're calling them anymore. Lost to the Athletics, and earlier in the season, and it wasn't close. They're now doing what we thought this team was going to do offensively, but I just don't see how they crawl out of what is lacking in a rotation. Hunter Brown, awesome. Since he's added the sinker, I think it's like 57 innings, almost below a 2 ERA. So that's awesome. Verlander, when he comes back, veterans, when they come back, they will always be – they'll be ready because they know their body. But where do they go from there? Framber, you don't know what it's going to be. So are they going to add another big starting pitcher? Astros can do it. Jim Crane can do it. Doesn't matter who his GM is.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is, guess who they play next? You guys know who they play next starting tomorrow?
Grimace.
So it's Grimace versus the Astros, Grimace versus Orbit. Who's going to stay hot and who's going to cool off, right? Listen, let's not forget Erik Getty has been really good for him too. I know Hunter Brown's getting the headlines, but Erik Getty's been really good his last few starts for him. Framber's Framber. They've lost Javier. Their bullpen's kind of being back to what we expected their bullpen to be, including Abreu at the back end. So this team is dangerous, and when they get Kyle Tucker back and they're at full strength, you don't want to play him because if you look at the standings right now, they're 4.5 back, 3 in the loss column behind Seattle. Remember, not long ago, about 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, Seattle had almost a 10-game lead. It's down to 3 in the loss column. So the Astros are coming. The Rangers haven't caught them yet. And again, we said this at the beginning about a few weeks ago. Nobody in the West has put the Astros and the Rangers away. And now here comes the Astros. And if they get over 500, they're at 500. We said when they get to 500, watch out. If they get over 500 and start building momentum, watch out because they can make another run, which nobody wants to see except Astros fans, into that ALCS.
I was trading Ryan Presley and Alex Bregman less than a week ago, maybe a week ago. And I still think it's really, really tough for them because they've gone on this run. You win 7 in a row and you're still 4 back. That's why it's so tough to overcome large, almost insurmountable leads by teams this early. But they're there, and you're going to start playing the Mariners eventually. But is it a long-standing thing? This lineup is long-standing. I don't know about the rotation.
Okay, so they're 3 games out of a wild card too. They can make that play. They've got multiple paths because of some teams not being who they thought we were, right? Like, yeah, the Mariners have just lost 6 of their last 8. I know they bounced back yesterday, but division's within range. So is wild card. There are some teams like Kansas City's slipping lately. I mean, I know they bounced back yesterday too. I know it's hard, but it's not like like the path now is already there. Some people thought this path would be created in August. I mean, we're in June.
But what I'm saying, it's hard. If you win 7 in a row and you still have to win. Essentially, you have to win 3 more in a row just to get even. That's what I'm saying is so hard and tough to make it all the way back. You need these runs, and then you need something to stabilize it all. Is their bullpen going to be the thing that stabilizes this rotation or this team? I don't see how they can last the entire season if they're looking for that to happen.
Agree to disagree that the offense is good enough.
They're good enough to get into the playoffs right now.
Yeah, the offense
is you, Scott. They're good enough to get in.
Yeah, the rotation ERA ranks 18th. It's a 4.26. It's gotten better lately. What should the Astros do? Acquire a starter at the deadline. I know everyone's trying to do that. They don't necessarily need an upper echelon starter, just a starter, right? A guy that can fill into the rotation because playoff rotation still should have Verlander back at some point, right? It's not like he's going to be gone for months. Hunter Brown looks like a playoff starter to me. Even Erik Getty right now. I mean, he's had the stuff. They brought him up a little bit early. He's learning on the fly in the majors. So I think they've got a legit playoff team like they always do. And I do think they'll make a move because Dana Brown operates that way. Jim Crane definitely operates that way. So not saying they're going to win the World Series, but we'll see. We'll see. They made a pretty quick return. I buy the Astros more than I do most of the other teams that bounced back. I buy the
They know-
Astros more than the Cardinals.
Okay. That's fair.
But
they know what to do once they're in. They know how to win in October.
They do. And they have the bullpen to do it too. That's where Hader, Presley, Abreu can be a problem. So we'll swing back and ask Ken about a team that is definitely in much worse shape than the Astros, the Chicago Cubs, among other topics to cover with Rosenthal coming up.
All right, Erik Kratz here, Foul Territory. Just going to talk about receiving pitches. Not framing them, just receiving. The biggest thing, no matter what, you see so many things, knee down, knees up, split leg, whatever it is, you put your glove down, that's fine, but if you have no timing and no rhythm, you're going to have a tough time beating the ball to the spot. That's all receiving is beating the ball to the spot. A good rhythm is just down and keep it moving and back up. If you put it to the ground, that's fine. If you put it just right here and just a rotation, you have to be moving. It's like trying to not move and then you stab at everything. So if you just try to receive the ball with a timing mechanism, you'll be able to receive it and be able to come around the ball no matter where it's at, high, low, anything. So see if we can try one right here.
Well done, Kratz, and good job by Baseballism, the official lifestyle brand of baseball, to suggest us doing demos like that. How do you do, AJ?
I wasn't listening, but I'm sure he did great. He's good at that.
that was cruel too to O'Hoppe.
I just let him catch the last one.
To O'Hoppe, AJ, you're like, you're trying too hard. You play it like you didn't do anything. You just stepped right up to the plate. You did plenty of prep. You prepped with your pitchers.
Listen,
come on.
Veterans.
Let me tell you what we did. Because especially when I was with the White Sox and before that, we literally would have a meeting with our pitching coach before, and they would hand us sheets of paper that had the scouting reports on them. And it was like Inside Edge, and then there was like a paper scouting report from our advanced scout, and it would say up and in, down and away, 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 up and in, down. And you're like, okay, I guess we go up and in and down and away. Like, what else is there to do? So you would just go off your pitcher's strengths, what they were and what they had that day. That was the scouting report was more self-scouting and what I saw out of my pitcher than it was about because in the minor leagues, you don't have any scouting reports. We didn't know who. We would literally sit down with a piece of paper and we would go through the lineup or the stats and be like, oh, this guy's having a good year. He's hitting third. Let's not let him beat us, and we'll take our chances with the next guy before him or guy after. That was the scouting report with this. And then you sit down with the pitcher and say, okay, what are you working on today? What are you trying to do today? But then you got to the big leagues and it was like, all right, well, up and in, down and away, up and in, down and away, up and in, down and away.
I love it. It's the Inside Scoop with FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal, coming off of Fair Territory, which I advise everyone to check out. They went over some of what we went over at the top of the show, teams that are rebounding like the Astros, the Mets, etc. One team I want to lock in on that we haven't covered enough this week, Ken, is the Chicago Cubs. This is becoming an epic disaster right now. They are 37-44. I know they don't want to sell and they're going to do whatever it takes, but they're putting themselves in a really bad position right now. What are your thoughts on this team?
Agreed. And one thing that stands out with them, 19 one-run losses, most in Major League Baseball. Their offense has been mostly the culprit of all this. They're 20th in runs per game, 28th batting average with runners in scoring position. Only two teams are worse than them. So they have some bullpen injuries. Merriweather and Leiter Jr. and Alzolay. All of that is contributing to this, but it's kind of a team-wide thing right now. Their rotation's okay, but the bullpen's been a problem. The offense has been a problem. And when you have two areas like that are so deficient, you have to wonder where this is going. Now, I know you guys talked about turnaround teams earlier. Houston, St. Louis, Boston, the Mets. I wrote about the Blue Jays today. They want to be one of those teams. I'm sure the Cubs want to be one of those teams. it's too early to write anyone off. It was too early a month ago. It's too early right now because of the expanded playoffs and so quickly things can change in this sport. But the Cubs, no question, have been a huge disappointment.
All right, before we get to individual players or parts of the team, is this showing that this team was poorly constructed? And I say that because Craig Counsell was brought in with his $8 million contract for 5 years because he did a good job of getting the most out of what other people in the industry didn't think was there. So is this a direct reflection that they don't have any depth and that the organization set him and the rest of the players up for failure unless everything goes perfectly to plan?
I'm not ready to say that yet, Erik. And certainly catching has been a problem for them. They're not getting offense out of that position at all. Released Jonny Gomes. Amaya's still there. Dansby Swanson and Nico Hoerner offensively have both underperformed. That's not poor roster construction. That's players not performing to their capabilities. And I mentioned the bullpen injuries. That's part of this too. So I'm not ready to bury them yet. Not really ready to bury anyone yet. But at the same time, these flaws are now apparent. And it's interesting with them. They don't necessarily act like a big market team. I know they signed Bellinger, but only because his market was distressed. They are a team that kind of runs on a budget. And I mentioned this in fair territory. Well, all teams run on a budget, obviously. But what I said was that there's only so much you can hold Jed Hoyer responsible or Craig Counsell responsible when the team is operating with certain limitations. And that has to be said here too. That's part of this.
Okay, so you're talking Cubs here, and we all know how I feel about the Cubs, so they're not turning it around. Which team is more likely to turn around? Even though I just said that, that's a personal thing, but you're the expert. The Blue Jays, we've seen the Astros get back to 500. They would have been on the list. Or the Cubs. Which team is more likely to turn it around and have an actual shot at the playoffs?
Right now, I can't say I'd support either in that regard.
You have to pick one, Ken. You can't just not say an answer, okay?
Relax. I'm going to pick one. Just relax. The Blue Jays have a history of not being a team that performs to its potential. Goes back to last year, even before that. They haven't won a playoff game in a long time. The Cubs, in my view, have an ideal manager. He is a really good manager, and they have ability that is untapped, in my opinion. As I mentioned, Swanson and Hoerner. You could say the same with the Blue Jays, Bichette and all that, but I just feel that there's more of a chance the Cubs do this than the Blue Jays do. I do not like the Blue Jays where they've been for the last couple of years. To me, it's a disappointing team, a team that needs to change some things up, and I don't see it turning around. Watch, they'll win 10 straight, but if I have to pick an answer, AJ, I'll pick the Cubs.
Okay, well, Tommy in the chat wants to know why Ken hates the Blue Jays so much and why you hate the city of Toronto. So can you expand on that for us, please?
I will. I hate all 30 teams, and whenever I write...
No, that's not what he said. He just said the Blue Jays, Toronto, and everyone that's Canadian or has any Canadian descent.
That means he read The Athletic this morning.
Yep.
I have a hard time believing that actually was asked in that fashion. There's nothing I have against Toronto, for goodness sake. It's one of the great cities on earth. And as for the Blue Jays, I don't hate any team. But when a team underperforms, guess what? I might write about that. That's what kind of guys like me do. So the Blue Jays have underperformed. And when teams underperform, don't play to their potential, guys like me are going to write that once in a while. Life.
Ken hates Terrence and Phillip, too. Let's throw that in there, too.
You hate who?
He hates Terrence and Phillip on South Park, too.
I don't hate anybody.
Anyway, let's say both of these teams continue in the direction that they're continuing. Who's going to be more advantageous in making the moves? Because both of these teams, Javier Assad just went on the IL, so that's a huge blow for the Cubs. Both of these teams have unbelievable rotation pieces in a league that need rotation pieces. Who's going to be the most advantageous and make that move that might not look great for this year, but is going to bring back the haul that all fans want for the next 3 years?
In my move, the Blue Jays should be that team. And my opinion, I should say. And the reason I say that is because of the way their roster is set up right now, their payroll. So Bichette and Guerrero both signed through next season. They haven't signed them to extensions yet. I don't believe they're going to sign them to extensions. There's no reason to think that that is going to happen. So you have those two pieces right there that you need to make a call on. And the way I wrote it today, Erik, is that if you trade one or two of those guys, those are prime pieces, then why not look at trading a Bassett or a Gossman? Those are guys making some money. They have control beyond this year. I can see that more than I can see the Cubs trading Justin Steele, right? Who's a younger guy who've got for a few more years. So, in my opinion, the Blue Jays, if they do not turn this around, need to look at anything and everything. Their product the last 2 years has been kind of uninspired, to say the least. And that's the team that needs to act, in my opinion, more so than the Cubs.
Ken, do you think there would be an uproar? And I mean, should the organization care? I know, fans north of the border are pissed about a raise in ticket prices, although, ticket prices are always dynamic. They'll lower them if they need to, usually teams, otherwise people won't go to games. But also, they spent on a lot of things, renovations to spring training park. And I know you wrote about some of this in The Athletic. So I asked this because if they do start to unravel pieces that aren't just the free agents coming up, like you say, Kikuchi and Yimi Garcia, it's going to hurt attendance for next year too. And it's going to point them in a direction towards a rebuild, whether they like it or not. And even if it takes only a couple years.
Well, Scott, you kind of summed up exactly the predicament that they're in. It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't thing. You're damned if you do because of what you just said. Attendance is already down 4,000 per game from last year. It's going to go down further if you start trading off your veteran parts. At the same time, if you don't do that, you might be headed for a problem down the line. Now, the other part of this in the background is the contractual situations of team president Mark Shapiro, who has 1 more year after this, and general manager Ross Atkins, who has 2 years. Now, their ownership, the Jays' ownership, Rogers Communications, might be the most detached ownership of any in the game. I don't know that they're ever paying attention. So maybe those guys are safe and they're good. But at the same time, if you start to take this apart, then the question becomes, well, why are we doing this? We failed. Why have we failed? That comes back to the team president and the general manager. So all of these factors are kind of swirling around the Blue Jays right now, and it's a complicated discussion. Even if you start trading players, what are you going for? Are you going for prospects with the most upside who might be further down the line, or are you looking for a quick retool, guys who are major league ready and can help you in the short term? That's a decision that would have to be made as well.
Yeah, and the Blue Jays might turn into last year's Mets. Record payroll, pieces to sell, and they become the belle of the ball, a term I know you like to use on Fair Territory sometimes when we get to the trade deadline. So let's talk Mets for a sec here. Armand with a question, and we can kind of broaden it, but he said, what relievers does Ken see the Mets looking at the deadline? Would they look at adding a bench bat, like a fourth outfielder or a utility player? I just would also like to point out how much the questions have changed about the Mets over about a week and a half span here. And we talked about them earlier, Ken. Could they add? My prediction was if they do add, it's maybe a longer term starting pitcher that they can have for multiple years of control. So if it's going to hurt, it's at least somebody that they can carry for next year when they think they're really going to be a World Series contender.
That's a good call, Scott, because a number of their starting pitchers are free agents or have options of some kind and might not be back next year. So if the Mets do buy, I would expect that would be what they seek. Controllable pieces. All teams want controllable pieces, right? At the same time, they've gone on this 15-4 run, and we'll see if it continues and sustains itself. But they've talked from the start of spring training about being a playoff team. David Stern said he thought this was a playoff team. Steve Cohen has made it clear he wants to win. So I would expect that if they are right there, that they're going to be aggressive. And you can't rule out potential free agents in that scenario. In fact, potential free agents will cost you less in prospect capital than a controllable piece would. And maybe that's their preference. They've been pretty adamant about keeping their prospects and building their system up. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they play over the next month, to see if they sustain this, and then to see how they act. And keep in mind too, and I'm going to repeat myself over and over again for the next month, there's nothing that says they can't do both at once. Maybe you trade Luis Severino to take advantage of the shortage in the starting pitching market to get a big return for him. And then maybe you supplement with a bench bat and a bullpen piece and maybe even get another starter in some other fashion. It's a buy-sell kind of thing. And again, I'll repeat myself once more. This doesn't have to be an either or. You can do both. And I expect in this market, teams will do both because of the shortage of talented players available.
Is this the worst thing that could have happened to the Red Sox? They're such an exciting team, and they're trying to claw back into it, and they're clawing back into it in a year where, in my opinion, they didn't spend enough. They could have had a much better team. Is this worst case scenario? Because now it's like hopes up. Oh, here we go now. But we're never going to touch our prospects because they're fun to watch. Are they going to do anything, or should they do anything?
Winning is never a worst case scenario. I'm sorry. There's no way that that's a bad thing. And yes, the Red Sox didn't expect to be in this position. They didn't try to be in this position, but they're there. And at some point, as Alex Cora said yesterday, talking to the press, hey, we got to get greedy. Not just think about the wild card. We got to think about the division. And that's the way they should be thinking. Now, that's the way Alex Cora is thinking. I'm not so sure the owners are thinking the same way, but no, this is a good scenario. This is a team that is on the rise and a team that should be active at the deadline because we've seen in the past couple of years, and Cora mentioned this too yesterday, when they kind of sit on the fence and don't do anything one way or the other in a major consequence kind of situation, kind of way, well, that's nowhere. So you got to be one or the other, in my opinion. You've got to be at least trying to get better. And they really haven't done that. They made a good trade a couple of years ago, one that we all ripped. Or I should say I ripped. I can't speak for everyone. The Christian Vasquez trade got them Abreu and Valdez. That's a great trade. Kleinblum gets the credit for that one. They need to be active, supplementing this team and trying to be the team that they should be, which is a large market behemoth.
Let's finish with Shohei Ohtani because he's on a heater. I feel like we're not talking about him enough, Ken. And I can spin it back to, I believe it was Monday's Fair Territory when you addressed his MVP chances. He certainly hasn't hurt his chances since you had that show. So when you're evaluating what's going on, what's your update on Ohtani? I know we've talked about this, a couple times, but I feel like it's still worth bringing up. He's been incredible at the plate.
Scott, what's amazing to me is that at times fans will reach out to me and say, oh, enough Ohtani. We don't want to hear. No, sorry. He's the best player in the game right now. He's the best player some of us have ever seen. He does things no one else can do, even when he's not pitching. And you look at him right now on this 10 RBI or 10-game RBI streak and leading the majors in OPS, doing all of the things he's doing out of the leadoff spot now because Mookie is out. It's incredible. And we've never seen a player who was exclusively a DH win the MVP. Ohtani doesn't count because he was pitching the 2 years he won. Is it possible? Sure, it's possible. It's possible he puts himself out there so much in the National League that it's just, there's no other choice. That said, he is a DH, and that part of the game that is not there, the defensive part, it does diminish his value. Again, if offensively he can separate himself to the extent that that kind of is mitigated, that would be a reason why he could be the first.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't like to do it, not that I have a real vote, but it also has to do with the competition. Is there somebody that can really put up with him? I mean, Mookie Betts looked like that guy, but now he's missing a lot of time. So it'll be a good one. We'll get our guys to weigh in on it at some point too. Ken, thanks for the time and the great day on Fair Territory as well. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Fair Territory was on right before Foul Territory on the FT YouTube channel. So if you want to check it out after this show, go for it. It is up there, as all Fair Territories are. They never go away. You can check them out on YouTube and wherever you get your pods.
All right, now let's talk about Oakland. How do you feel about them not being Oakland anymore? How do you feel about them being somewhere out west in the state of California, maybe Nevada, athletics?
It's heartbreaking, man. It's infuriating. I feel awful for the fans. I feel really bad for the people that work in that organization. Because once you get under ownership, the people who are working for that club behind the scenes, in the training room, in the clubhouses, the ushers, the security guards, the people that work at the stadium. Like they're in limbo right now, and I don't think that's fair for everything that they do to the club. The fans are in limbo because I don't know if anybody. I don't know what this Vegas move is, if it's actually going to happen or not. I think they're getting more pushback there than they thought they were gonna. But from a fan standpoint, they lost the Warriors, they lost the Raiders in the last few years, and now it looks like they're losing the A's as well. So I feel so lucky to have played in Oakland for that fan base, for that organization. That organization gave me a shot to change the course of my career when I switched to pitching. So I'll always be grateful for my time in Oakland and playing for those fans. It was a special time. Obviously, the Coliseum is way past its prime, and the players and the fans deserve a better ballpark to call home. But moving the team, into this purgatory situation in Sacramento before they maybe go somewhere else to Vegas or otherwise. It feels like a failure. I feel awful for the fans.
Time for trade talk. Thanks to MLB 9 Innings. They'll help us out with some player cards while we go through some players. And I'll give a shout out to friend of the show, Jim Bowden, who we'll have at some point in the next few weeks. He put out an article in the Athletics column saying MLB execs predict 18 players most likely to be traded at the deadline. He pulled 35 executives around this sport to get the top names in 3 categories: starter, reliever, position player. So I'll throw some names out there. I thought position player was the most interesting. The names that popped up on his list were Jazz Chisholm, 1, Randy Arozarena, 2, Taylor Ward, 3, Tommy Pham, 4, Luis Robert, 5, Pete Alonso, 6. The back end made sense, especially since some of these questions were before the Mets went on their run. But what do you think about the top half of that conversation?
Arozarena, yes.
If the Rays fall apart, and I get what you're saying, you think the Rays will constantly do that churn and this is the time?
Yeah. Taylor Ward, 100%. That's an easy one. Jazz Chisholm, I mean, maybe the Marlins are just tired of him. That's the only thing I can think of is, he's we saw the poll the other day, but I mean, they say they like him, but what are the Marlins really doing? They need better farm system. Pete Bendix is going to be like, we're not making the playoffs. He said that after about 20 games. So why not? If you can get a big haul for him, why not?
Well, I also think Jazz can play center and infield spots. So depending on what you're, not for a first division team, Kratz.
I mean, are you throwing him in center field for he's not Phillies? Right-handed for the Phillies? He's playing center field. Yes. Is he it's like saying, we're going to go get a starting pitcher who is going to anchor our rotation in the playoffs. It's not happening. Are you filling in for guys? You're not getting a haul for people that are filling in positions. Arozarena brings more intrigue because of what he did in the playoffs. He's been abysmal this year. He would tell you he's been abysmal. I don't know if he changed something, if he's playing through injury. He's not hitting fastballs, and that is crazy to me. But he has that intrigue of, okay, he's going to start making a little more money. The Rays aren't going to want to pay him after this year, definitely not after the next year. So you sit there and you go, okay, you'd have 2 years of control over him after this season, and he has playoff just domination. Is that enough for a haul? I think you'd get way more for him than you would for a Jazz Chisholm.
He's playing much better in June, too. He was brutal the first couple months, but he is playing better. I know he beefed up. He looked stronger, but that's not necessarily a good thing. He was working out with Yandy Diaz, I think, in the offseason, which, they say
2 hours of bicep curls.
Yeah, they say you can't get too big. You can.
Yandy, two hours of bicep curls every day. Doesn't even break a sweat. It's an incredible workout.
All right, let's go to pitching. So Garrett Crochet was by far number one on the list for his poll. That makes sense. Jack Flaherty, Luis Severino, Zach Eflin was actually pretty high on the list there too. Luzardo and Tarek Skubal made it on the list. That's one of the surprising ones too, just because the Tigers have been in rebuild mode for a while. Kratz is shaking his head, but given that we don't have many premier starters available coming up at this trade deadline, most likely, AJ, I mean, the Tigers could get a ridiculous haul for Skubal because of how much better he is than anyone else that's going to be available, and he's under team control still for years. You're shaking your head too?
Mm-hmm. First of all, two things. One, we're showing Crochet. If they're going to trade him, they need to let people know if he's on some sort of a limit this year, because we've talked about this a little bit. Like, let's say he goes and they're like, oh, we'll get a haul for Crochet. And he's like, oh, I got 20 innings left on the year, right? The team's going to be pissed, So that's a tough one for me. And plus, I think the White Sox fans need some hope to hold on to. And that's why I've been saying all year that Robert and Crochet won't be traded. Now, if they get an unbelievable offer for him, why not if you're Chris Getz? The fan morale is already at an all-time low, so why not just go ahead and do it and completely start over, which they said they weren't going to do. But then you look at Tarek Skubal. We just talked about the White Sox fans. Think about the Tiger fans. They got one of the top 5 pitchers in baseball going right now, and you're going to trade him when you're supposed to be climbing like this? Like, that is a devastating blow to a team that supposedly in the past has spent money, has wanted to compete, and they keep saying, hey, we're closer, we're closer, we're closer, we're closer, we're getting closer. And then you trade one of your best players, if not one of the best players in all of baseball. It seems like it's not going to happen, and I just cannot see A.J. Hinch and that whole team there letting that happen.
On that list, it's got to be Flaherty. What do we talk about all the time? We talk about teams that are in the playoff hunt. You want to get the most? You go to the Braves and say, what do you want for Jack Flaherty? He is a guy that steps into that rotation if something happens to Charlie Morton. He's not going in front of Sale or Max Fried right now. That's totally fine. But what he's doing translates to the playoffs. And if the Braves don't want to give it to you, okay, the Astros will give it to you. Okay, if they don't want to, to me, he is that piece. Tarek Skubal is not happening. You do not give up a Cy Young contender from your rotation.
I was trying to think about this, and I'm sure we can ask Bowden at some point when he comes on the show. So you poll execs. One side of me goes, well, you're talking to the people that are in on conversations. So they're letting us know that certain players might pop up in conversations. On the other side, this could be players that they hope will become available. Yeah. Or you can even throw names out there to kind of mess with your competition. You know what I'm saying? You're I'm going to throw Skubal's name out there and mess around with the Tigers a little bit.
I would love to meet that GM because he is probably awesome to hang out with. Whoever threw his name out there, I would love it.
All right, let's go to relief pitchers last. So among the poll, here's the players who popped up most likely to get traded. This one makes more sense, at least for some of the names. Tanner Scott, duh. That's the lock. Yimi Garcia looking more and more likely for the Blue Jays. Kenley Jansen, although let's see what happens with the Red Sox. And I also will mention that Kenley was on the record again lately saying he essentially won't do anything but the 9th inning. So you better make sure he's a 9th inning guy. He's like, I don't want to be messed with. Tyler Rogers on this list, although that's tough for me to see if San Francisco's in the race. And Mason Miller. Thoughts
Miller's
there?
Not going anywhere. Miller is not going anywhere. I know we like to joke about it. He's not going anywhere. I have too much.
What if you get offered the world, though? What if you get
They
offered the
won't.
world?
Nobody's
They won't.
offering the world for him.
Somebody said this the other day that I thought was interesting. Like, let's use the Phillies for your example. Do they need him? No. But if they have him, you eliminate one inning in your playoff run. Like, what if I told you that a player like this could win you a World Series? And also, they're the good example because of Craig Kimbrell, crapping in the NLCS last year. What is it worth? What's a World Series worth to you? I know that doesn't mean you're going to win, but this is a guy that's going to be a major October impact if he does get traded. I agree. There's so much team control.
It's not going to happen from the A side. It's not going to happen from the A side.
Well, what if you overwhelm them with prospects?
No team will do that anymore.
Aiden Miller is becoming a top 25 prospect-ish now. He was the high flyer on the Baseball America board. What if you offer Aiden Miller plus like a Mick Abel or an Andrew Painter? Dude, Painter could be a 1 and he's back next year. And Aiden Miller could be a star. Those two players in a package, maybe with a lower level, high risk, high reward guy on top of that, that might be tough to say no if you're Oakland. I mean, if Mason Miller really is just going to be a reliever for you and you're Oakland, you're still years away from contending. Also, keeping in mind, as much as we love him right now, most relievers that we talk about now, we don't talk about the same 3-4 years from now. Miller's had injury risks. I love him just like anyone else. I'm just saying, like, this value right now is incredible. I agree it's tough to trade a guy that has this many years of control left, but I'm just saying a team could overwhelm you and then you need to seriously consider it. I don't know what they'll be allowed to do and not do based on how the ownership's trying to sell the future of the team. But Kratz, would you say no to that deal if you're Oakland?
I would not say no to it, but I'm more advantageous. There's no team that's underwhelmed me on any deal than the A's. Who have the A's gotten back in all their dealings that you're like, okay, super impact here? If I just don't see how it's so far apart where the A's would be like, we know we have a commodity in Mason Miller. We're going to make this deal so that we get this much back. Like, to me, that would be the advantageous thing to do, is you have a reliever who is elite level and you can get 2 pieces to your starting rotation in Aiden Miller and Andrew Painter. That would be an unbelievable deal. But to me, when you get to names like that, the Phillies are like, we're good. We're good. It's too much. I just think they value him too much. They're not advantageous enough, and other teams understand what they're giving up. Other teams aren't just like, oh, neat, Mason Miller, we'll take him.
Okay. Fair. Good debate, though. We'll see. And a good article there by JB to bring up some names that we weren't thinking about. Some that we shoot down, but Arozarena is another one to keep in mind. There aren't many impact bat outfielders available.
Phillies?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, they need an outfielder.
Right-handed.
There's no doubt.
Although Nick is coming on, and Marsh is back, and it's a matter of, do they want just defense in center field and not defense and offense, because they have Pache and Rojas that can rotate in and out there.
Rojas crushed into AAA, by the way.
Yeah, he is, and he's a great defender. The Braves need.
I don't know how he's doing, but he's not in the big league, so he's not doing that great.
True, but the Braves need an outfielder or two as well, and I think they might make a splash in that department. Just
Fam's going somewhere for sure.
Yep, there's a right-handed guy.
Fam knows. He knows he's getting traded. You play well, you get traded out of that situation. All right, let's take a quick peek at MLB 9 innings.
Wow, not bad for only one MVP. Here's how a 3-time winner does it.
That's cute. Call me when you get to 6:30.
Whatever.
Scan the QR code and download MLB 9 Innings 24. It is free to download. It's a good game. Check it out and get the best baseball game in the palm of your hands. All the latest from this 2024 season. As we're going over the trades, you can check out all those player cards within the game. Go get after it. All right, Pierzynski, we're going to see you on Monday in person. I'll be down in Studio AJ, so we'll see you Monday, Tuesday. And we will handle your lock for you. We'll actually have Lucy read it for you.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing, so I don't want you guys, I need Lucy to read it for me.
Yeah. She'll help to clear things up. I did get a little tutorial on your pick, but yes. we will help clear things up for that.
It's not that hard if you know betting as well as Lucy and I do. It's not hard to read my pick.
You did write the book. You did write the book on it. So we'll try to read that out loud coming up. AJ, good luck to your son in his games.
Thanks, guys. See you on Monday. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Thank you. See you Monday, and we'll be right back. Let's give a minute to our latest sponsor. Kratz, you want to help me out on this one?
Sure.
Okay.
What do you need?
So we're talking about shaving. It could be below the belt. It could be the nose hairs. That's where Kratz and I probably like to focus. It could be on the face. And that's why we trust Manscaped for the sensitive areas. Their newest package is the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, including the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Do you do a little nose hair action?
Oh,
do
yeah.
a little.
Yeah.
Especially as you get older, they get a little longer. It's true. Sorry about it. It's true. So
it's just
Manscaped
true.
has
But
you covered.
it's disappointing. Nobody wants to see a nose hair when you're talking to them. Get it cleaned up.
Also, I love that it's ready to go when I get it. I know it sounds silly, but if you don't have the right battery, you get pretty pissed. So this already comes locked and loaded when you make the order. It has dual LED spotlights to contrast on multiple skin tones, 3-length setting combs, and it's waterproofed. And if you use our code and you go get that Performance Package 5.0, there's 2 free gifts. The boxers are great. The Shed travel bag, the body wash is great. The Buff Bundle, which includes their signature silicone scrubber. So there's a lot to look at. And you join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with the exclusive offer for FT fans, 20% off plus free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and you use the code FOUL, FOUL 20. FOUL 20 is the code. Go get after it. Data Dish time, powered by Magnus, the center of data. Jonny Gomes, great to see you, man. How's everything?
All good, man. Good to come on right after the Manscaped shout out that you
That's
guys
true.
had to send my address your guys' way.
Yes, please. Yeah. We can easily hook you up, my fellow beard brother. All right, so before we start, you're just bringing it with the cap game. You're trying to compete clearly with Kratz hats. So can you give us a little run through today? What is that?
Is George Washington swinging an axe. I mean, how epic of a logo is that out there in Fredericksburg, Virginia? God love it.
I was gonna say it's either the Orioles or the Nats, one of their lower level teams.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's really nice. Kratz, you want to grade that?
It's very patriotic coming up 4th of July. It's my 4th of July cap.
That's an A, only because I can't give an A+ because we've only had a few A+ this year. So
true.
That is an A.
We are strict like that. All right, Jonny.
Good stuff.
Jonny, I want to get into a few MLB topics first. So which team do you think is in worse shape right now? The Cubs or the Blue Jays?
I would have to say the Blue Jays right now. The Cubs still have some upside. They still have some youth. Up there in Toronto, they're going to have some really, really expensive arm cases, as these guys have been good in the past. They're going to need some more arms. They're going to need some more help. Gosh, they probably have the most trade chips out of any team right now. And that's almost as good as currency right now as trade chips.
I like it.
Great.
And they're in the AL East too. That's a division you got to come with it. Right?
Well,
the
competition, yeah, you're right. The competition is what you have to think about as well, is that the National League is basically, hard to lose. It's hard to fall apart this early in the season because there's been so many teams that are either hovering around the 500 mark or who had slow starts and now are picking things up. You're right. And especially in the American League East, you're still going to have to run into the Orioles, the Yankees.
Cubs are probably closer to getting to Milwaukee than Toronto is to New York or Baltimore.
So what do you talk about? What do you talk about if you're on that team with the Jays right now? Obviously, we're talking about it as fans. We're talking about, well, they should trade. You got all like you said, those commodities. What do you talk about if you're on that team? Like you're in that locker room, you're growing your beard out for some eyewash fan cheer, like, oh, look at me. Oh, everybody loves our beards. What do you talk about?
Yep. Gosh, man. I mean, sometimes you got to be selfish. Sometimes you just got to show up to the yard first and just compete every single day. And, at the backside of your baseball card for position players, there's no win-loss, right? So that's your resume. And it shows up at the end. You got to put your numbers up every single day. And that's what other teams are looking for. These guys are getting close to free agency. So the time is now for a lot of those guys. And they do still have the roster to turn it around. But, man, they got some alpha teams ahead of them.
Hey, Johnny, I know we like to also focus on this seg for the kiddos, so we'll get to that in just a moment. So being that the MLB draft is coming up, we just had the combine. Yeah. What is the process like for picks once they are drafted and signed? I think people are curious to know how a player enters an organization. I mean, you can take me back to your situation, but then also just what you observed even over the years. So what are the phone calls like? What kind of services do teams offer? Do they say, hey, if there's a medical situation, you need to tell us, or, we have a masseuse, we have, a doctor, a nutritionist, a mental health coach, whatever, right? Like, what is the process like?
Yeah. So what Kratz, AJ, myself went through is just extremely foreign, right? Like all that is out. Right. So, I mean, you got guys that are turning down, 12 to 15 round deals to go to a big D1 to make more money of NIL money. Right. So you have more bargaining than you've ever had in the past of these drafts. High school guys. And I think which is crazy right now is where you'll see this one dude, his name, Bryce Rayner, the two-way guys. Right. So you're going to have talks with guys. I want to pitch. I want to hit. I want to do both. And this team's like, no, we want you to hit. This team's like, no, we want you to pitch. And I think that's more interesting than anything else right now in the previous drafts. The two-way guys.
Yep. And what about the process and like the resources available? Or maybe even when you get called up to the show, how does it work? Like you step into a big league clubhouse. Do some teams kind of make you aware of how much is available at the pro level and then especially at the major league level? It's not like you walk into a clubhouse and you're like, yeah, I'm going to get a massage at 10. I'm going to see the trainer just to make sure I'm good. If I need any treatment, I'm going to work with this coach at this time. Like, how does that all come together?
Well, I think more than ever I think the organizations lay out so many opportunities to make it to the big leagues and to stay healthy. And I mean, there's the nutritionist, there's the strength, there's the mental side, there's the sleep side. From being in player development for a while, it's almost like you have every single tool and every single rock has been turned over on the analytics side, on the health side, on the stretch side, on the off-season side. There's so much going on at these complexes in the off-season. Back when I was playing, last day of the year, boom, you show up in spring training. There's this camp, there's that prospect camp, there's a strength camp. I mean, these guys, as all 30 teams, they love their prospects making to the big leagues.
All right, talk about some prospects. Let's talk to Mr. Holden's pitching report here. Let's go through it because Senior Holden can sling the rock a little bit.
Senior Holden can sling the rock a little bit. And you saw that flash of that 97 that's up there. That was just one. His average was down a little bit at that 91. But if he can sit at 91, 89, and still have that 97 in his back pocket, that's pretty impactful. I mean, that's a live arm. But I go down to this changeup down here, and he only threw one changeup. It was down on the bottom right. And look at all that action on the bottom right. He has 78 miles per hour. He has 91 miles per hour, and he has 79, all located in that down and out. And you look at his action over here on the X and Y chart. He's got 2 pitches on the left and 2 on the right, so he can hit both sides of the plate. Of course, that cluster right there, all of them are coming out of the same window. We got a pretty good bright side of this young man right here.
Tell us, and maybe you don't have the overall averages, but tell us the average spin rate, because right now some of the PG tournaments are going on, and I'm getting people texting me because they know we're with Magnus, know we're with Baseball Cloud and Yakertech, and they're like, what's a good spin rate? What's a good spin rate for a 4-seam fastball? What's a good spin rate for a 2-seam fastball?
Yeah. And that's tough, right? I mean, that really goes down to like the pitching guru guys. And I talk about a swing. Well, what's a good swing? A swing is when you get a hit, right? Anytime you get a hit, that was a good swing, right? So if you're getting outs, I'm not looking at any of my spin. But it is good to just log them and see where you can with your changeup go a little lower in your spin. And what happens, sometimes when, some guys chase that spin, they can't control it. Right. So what's a good spin? Well, a good spin is when you get outs and you get into that 5th, 6th, 7th inning with, your team having more runs than the other team. So don't look too far into it, but just look at that growth and what's happening.
Good. Hey, Johnny, I'm looking at this report. I'm thinking about something Kratz has brought up. I'm obsessed with arm care and injury prevention. I know we've talked about how Magnus can help a lot here for the youngsters and even some of these college programs, maybe especially like D2, D3, that aren't aware of how easy it is to get something and how affordable you can help your pitching staff, especially what we're talking about here. So the reason I bring this up is you've got a guy who is sitting 91, but he's touching 97. Kratz brought up at some point during the arm care discussion how it would be nice if players had more data available to show scouts so they could say, hey, I'm capable of going to this level. I just don't need to do it all the time right now. I'm still a youngster. Like, I am building myself up. My body's not there yet. Or I feel like my body shouldn't be there yet to be slinging 96 to 98 all the time. But I'm just letting you know that it's there for me. How important is that, do you think, for scouts to be able to recognize? Because I think some players right now feel as if they don't, pump all out on every pitch for their heater right now, that they're going to get bad velo readings and teams are just going to move on even if they haven't really seen the guy pitch.
Yeah, I was watching the College World Series, and it was just such a breath of fresh air to see some pitches at the College World Series, the 2 best teams, and the high 80s and low 90s. The best pitchers, right, for Tennessee and Texas A&M, middle relievers, left, right-handed. Of course, they're going to have the movement, but you do not have to throw high 90s to succeed at this game. And, it's so good. I tell guys, if you throw as hard as you can every single pitch, what are you going to do when you're in trouble, right? So if you can just tick it down a little bit, and say I get it for swinging. I mean, as soon as that bat goes through the zone, it wants to be as fast as it can. But you have to be able to pitch at a B- and a C grade and have that A when you do get in trouble.
This is how kids are going to learn how to pitch. And if you learn how to pitch, you will not only get to the big leagues, but you'll make a lot of money in the big leagues, because the dudes that make all the money are not just grunting, snorting, snot flying, throwing it past guys. Yes, they're about getting outs. Just like you said, how do you get those outs through 7 innings? And that's about pitching. So I love this part of it.
Yeah, and I thought Justin Verlander touched on it, a while ago, and his velocity jumped just on its own. It just jumped on its own, right? So just like trust the process. These guys are trying to gain 5 miles per hour at 13 years old. Like, why? Don't learn how to pitch, right? I mean, We don't do that on the offensive side, right? Like if you got a singles guy, like, yeah, keep hitting singles. And as soon as that single guy tries to go deep, it's a routine fly ball to right field. So just stay where you are, trust the process, stop climbing that ladder so fast. Just stay where you are, trust the data, and just watch that data go up on its own.
Well said. And hopefully data like this helps the cause there so that you can be seen even if you're not the guy that's averaging that velo. We know that you can get there eventually. Jonny, thanks for the time, man. As always, and for everyone, check out cmagnus.com to see how the makers of Yakertech Baseball Cloud, Softball Cloud, etc., are the center of data now and how you can get your hands on one. Appreciate you. See you next week.
And, you know, I've talked to my front office people. I've talked to a lot of baseball people about this. And I think that our nomenclature now is very, very antiquated. You know, we talk about fastballs and curveballs and sliders and changeups, but we all know that there are umpteen different numbers of changeups and umpteen different numbers of sliders that people throw. And one of the things I do is every individual that comes in the office, I flip them a baseball and I say, show me what you're throwing. Show me how you grip a baseball. Tell me about the pitches that you're throwing. So, you know, I do somewhat of a deep dive into this, and then we start to talk about metrics. And for me, one of the major risk factors is horizontal ball movement. So forget about what you're calling these pitches, you know, whether it's a changeup or a slider, whether it's, you know, arm side run or opposite arm side run or whatnot. To me, it's horizontal ball movement, you know, and to create horizontal ball movement, you've got to grip the crap out of the baseball, and then you have to cut it, either pronate it hard or supinate it hard with a very, very firm grip. And it's causing this, what we call eccentric load on the muscles on the inner side of the elbow and then everywhere up the kinetic chain, meaning the lat and the teres, which we're seeing a huge number of tears in now that we never saw before, shoulder capsular tears. So I think they're all a consequence of this change in pitch design. And I think the data's there, and I think we just need to take a harder look at it. And one of the things I've told baseball, I'm not against, you know, any of these things ever being thrown again. We need to figure out what are the safe parameters with which we can do this. You know, what's the threshold in which a guy can throw off-speed pitches or these particular types of off-speed pitches and not cross a line where the injury risk spikes significantly. But, I mean, you have teams now pushing guys in the minor leagues to throw 65, 70, 75% off-speed stuff. And it's not a circle change. It's all these movement pitches, these pitches with horizontal movement and metrics, what I call a power changeup and the sweeping slider in particular. And we need to look at what is the safe threshold with which to throw these, with what frequency, so we can begin to at least tutor guys a little bit more smartly. And I think the data is there. We need to look at it harder.
We back on FT. It's Braun and Kratz. Lucy Birch joining us soon for some picks. But before we get to that, you want to run through this Oakland play at the plate, this little snafu for the kids?
More. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you give us a little teaching 101? Yeah.
You learn, and most people probably don't even know that it's a rule. And people say, oh, they're big leaguers, they should know this stuff. Most big leaguers are the best players ever. Out. You got assisted by great job by the umpire seeing that he made contact, and you can't make contact with a runner who is still, he's like, oh, go back, who's still in play. Great job by the umpire right there. Just like if you're rounding third, how he missed home plate, that's a completely odd thing. But if you're rounding third and your third base coach goes, stop, and you're like fall, or he like pushes you back to the base, you're out. You cannot make contact with a live runner and he was live because he missed home plate. And this is also why in spring training, you actually practice running the bases. People will say, well, why do we need to practice running to first base? Because there's a right way and there's a wrong way. And if the Angels were in the playoff hunt right now, and that run doesn't score and they lose the game and they lose the season by one game, that's a big thing. So take care of the little stuff and you don't mess up on stuff like this.
Yeah, that was Kyle McCann for Oakland, and Armando Alvarez, kind of pushed him back towards the base. And just to be clear, I mean, you can pass the base and then be like, oh crap, and walk back. I mean, to an extent, you can't go get, peanuts and a pretzel and then come back later, but you can pass the base and then go back and step on it. Just his teammate can't give him the old, what do they call it when they in football now, the big play?
The stiff arm? Oh, the tush push? You can't give him the tush push?
No tush push in baseball.
Nope. That was on point though. The umpire saw him miss home plate. The catcher was not looking. I don't think it was O'Hoppe. I'm not sure who was back there, but I don't think they saw it. But the guy that was waiting for him, he saw it. So it's good. It's about always paying attention.
It is. All right. Now let's be very alert for this next segment with Leo. And our friend Lucy Burge back at it. No AJ today, so I told him that we are going to do our best AJ impression to deliver his pick. So I just want you to be mentally prepared for that when we get to it.
You said Lucy was going to do the impression. You didn't say any of us were doing the impression.
No, you're right. I did. Yeah, and also AJ didn't really want us to deliver the pick. He was like,
yes,
Lucy and me know what we're doing, so we would like, I would like Lucy to explain what I put together here. So we'll get to that. First off, Wednesday was pretty successful. I know Kratz, you fell with the Yankees side of your parlay, huh?
Yep. Yankees.
But it was no sweat. No sweat.
I knew they were losing as soon as the rain started falling.
Yeah, that's never good. That's never great.
No. Pap lost 2. AJ won. Good job on the Padres and the Orioles. Trevor got on the winning side of things with the Minnesota run line, and I got the Dodgers run line. Some people are like, oh, we should talk more about Gavin Stone today. He's great. We've talked about him a lot. He shut down the White Sox. Just saying. Okay, money bags. AJ and me are actually tied right now. Lucy's got to get back on track. So, Lucy, why don't you start?
Yeah, I will get back on track today because as AJ said, he and I are in lockstep on a couple things. Like we plan our outfits, we planned our bets for today. He was like, you'll know what I'm doing. My lock of the day, we are pretty much like twins. We're very in sync. Chris Sale over 7.5 strikeouts against the White Sox, his former team, revenge game, revenge spot. Will he cut up his jersey for this start? I'm sure no one has made any jokes about that today or anything like that, but it's a possibility. He hit this in 2 of his last 3 starts with 8 and 10 in those. The White Sox are 11th in the league in highest team total strikeouts, so they're striking out a little bit more than other teams. And Chris Sale has 19 strikeouts in 11 innings across the other 2 starts against his former team that he has put together here. So I think he can go over this on his return to Chicago. Chris Sale over 7.5 strikeouts. He might have over 10, honestly. So over 7.5, I'm very comfortable with that today. Lock of the day.
I will tell that as well, Kratz. Oh, yeah. There is a, not revenge, but there is an adrenaline component.
Adrenaline. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, they made him wear jerseys he did not want to wear. So there's revenge.
Yeah.
What if he just slits just like a little bit of the bottom of his jersey?
Little side cutout action?
Just a little, like
cute.
a little, like a little love handle, just a little fat love handle. Yeah. He doesn't have any fat, so it doesn't matter. But
right, you get to show the sides of like he could show his abs, like 2 little cutouts on the side, just for like from a fashion standpoint. I think that would work.
This year, all rules are off the table, being, that some of the uniforms have been see-through and ripped off.
They're not real.
The whole
deal. They're not real jerseys.
Yeah, exactly.
They melt. So, yeah. I think that's a really good idea, Chris Sale. If you're haven't, started warming up yet, I think it's a really good idea.
I'm sure that's on his mind. Kratz, what's your pick?
All right, I'm going with another parlay, except it's not a game-winning parlay. I'm going strikeouts. I'm going the Tigers. The Tigers. Yes, you heard it right. The Tigers money line against the Angels because it's Jack Flaherty Day, and they're only making him get 6.5 strikeouts. So I'm going over on strikeouts for Jack Flaherty, who is punching out the world with the new shaped slider sweeper thing that he has, and the Tigers money line, and that's plus 140.
Nice.
Very
I
nice.
like it.
Love value there.
I had trouble looking at games tonight. I know AJ did too. That's why he's got a special one we'll get to in a sec. But I'll go with that KC Cleveland series firing up. Kansas City has not been scoring lately, and the under in the past 5 for them has hit in all of those. And in the past 8, it's 7-0-1. So I'm going to take under 9 runs. I know if you go to the BetMGM app, at first you see 8.5. You got to go over to the game section, and you can go to 9 and just buy up a half run. At least that's what I like to do. I'm a little bit conservative because it's minus 125. I think it was plus 100 if you go 8.5. But if in case it's a 5-4 game, I push and I get my money back. So anyway, that's what I'm going with. Ben Lively's actually been really good lately and really good on the season. They've got the best bullpen in baseball by ERA, I believe, still Cleveland. So I just think that's a low-scoring game to start the series. It's tight. It's got rivalry components to it because of how they've played. And last but not least, do you see this concoction that AJ brought up for us?
Look at this. I love it. I think it's beautiful. Am I to read it in an AJ impression?
In your best AJ
like.
impression.
Okay.
Yeah, it's out there for you.
Okay, let me try. This is off the cuff. Let's see.
Okay.
Atlanta money line. And I can't do it. I can't do this. Okay.
I like how she fixed her hair first. She fixed her hair first. She's like, I think my AJ impression. Either that or she was giving signs. I'm not sure what she was looking for. Scott.
I was like, hey, little nose tab here. Yeah, no. He says Atlanta money line. Chris Sale over 7.5 strikeouts. Royce Lewis over 1.5 total bases. Oh no, sorry. Hits, runs, RBI. Total bases,
Correct.
runs, and RBI. Hits, runs, RBI. Ooh.
Yeah, usually
like
hits,
that.
runs, RBI, but I guess he picked total bases, runs, RBI. But
I like it. I like that very much. I like that he's in lockstep with this. Plus 242 for this one. I think we're on the upswing here. I see a sweep here.
And Lewis was in a game that's already happening, right? Lewis already got a knock, I think. No? Isn't that game already going? I'll double check.
That would be really nice.
Which he locked in before.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nope,
he locked it in at halftime.
It's at 3:40.
Okay.
It's coming up in about an hour. But
that's how good Royce Lewis is. He already has a hit and the game hasn't started.
Well, that's what this is what Tristan Casas does now. He hits home runs in his head before he even gets to hit the at bat. So when he returns,
Did you see Tristan Casas was taking his dry swings in the dugout?
Yep.
And last night in the rain, he was taking wet swings.
Love that.
Ooh,
Love that.
Wow.
Wet swings. Yep.
We're here for all of it.
Yes, I have no jokes to make about that at all. And he'll be ready when he returns.
Yes,
well, also because we're on national television, so
exactly.
it was good restraint there. Lucy, good luck on your bets tonight, and nice job on the one-liner you gave us of AJ. It did sound like him.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I hope I did him proud with that one little bit there. But
he will be proud. We will
sweep
show
tonight.
Let's sweep tonight. Exactly. Thank you, Lucy. And for everyone new to BetMGM, the first bet offer is FOUL, FOUL. You can get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if that first bet loses when you sign up and deposit at least $10 into an account. You place your first wager, and that's when you can get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if it falls. And if that does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. We're going to come right back with an extended slap hands that includes Rowdy Tellez stealing the show in a good way.
Doing it.
One of my favorite days is getting to face our own guys because I love talking crap. Like all year, I'm telling them, I'm like, if I'd faced this lineup, oh my gosh, I'd have 20 punch outs. And they're like, oh, whatever, shut up. And so, like, those are the days, you actually get to go out and do it. Because, like, when you're throwing on a backfield in spring training, like, there's no adrenaline at all. Like, there's none. Like, if you're throwing 96, 98 in a game, you're probably going to be throwing 92 on the backfield. And, those guys are just trying to load up and cheat on heaters and stuff. And
So, yeah, just trying to be able to get the stakes raised a little bit, talking a lot of trash. I told O'Hearn he'd have to call his agent to put in another bat order. That was really bugging him because I told him, I said, "Hey man, don't bring your favorite bat up to the plate." He's like, "One." I was like, "Because I'm gonna break it," and that was a running joke. But no, it's just a lot of fun to talk trash. I like to run my mouth a lot, so it's a lot of fun.
A lot.
Okay. A lot. So, all right. You just said one of your best friends is DL Hall. When you guys play the Brewers, if it's Rodriguez versus Hall, I mean, is there some, you know?
Yeah, I told him, I was like, dude, if this happens, I was like, we are going to beat the crap out of you. I was like, I'm going to out pitch you from pitch one. And he was like, oh, obviously me and him go back and forth. We have like a brother relationship, we're always fighting and stuff. But sadly, I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to throw, I think we're both throwing the first game before that series starts. So I think they come to Baltimore Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I think we might both throw like on Thursday.
We got a few minutes for Slap Hand, so we saved some extra topics. First off, just want to let everyone know the guest list for tomorrow because it is already locked in. Mike Tachman will join us. Chas McCormick will join us. Talk about players on teams that are on two opposite sides of the spectrum right now. The Cubs are struggling. The Astros are thriving. And Alexa Dat, kind of right in between there, a team that's in the 500-ish range. She covers the Cardinals pre-post, some sideline, the whole deal. Works for the Bally Sports Midwest channel out there, and a former teammate of mine. We used to work together over at MLB. So I'm excited to catch up with Alexa as well. So Cardinals fans, Kelsey, get your questions ready. A lot of actually our favorite female fans have players or guests tomorrow that they will be excited to ask questions to. So we're looking forward to that. Little bourbon and baseball question for Chas McCormick. Just shouting out some of the individuals that we appreciate here on the show. Okay, let's get to Rowdy first, and then we'll do Kratz hats. Because we like to give Rowdy Tellez a lot of crap, Kratz, but also he's a good dude, and he's a softie, right? Like, he's a big teddy bear. He always thinks about how he can, make lives better for fans. And here's a special relationship that he has with Xander here. So every year since he was 5, Xander spent his birthday going on a trip to see his favorite player, Rowdy Tellez. Rowdy invited him down to the field this morning to celebrate his 7th birthday. It's cute, cool, and that's what it's all about. Pregame, you guys have a lot of time. I know you're busy, and especially you're a catcher, so it's different. But if you're Rowdy Tellez and you're playing first and you've been in the bigs for a while, doing things like this change lives.
100% it does. And honestly, knowing from experience, when you make relationships like this, he's made a friend that now has watched him play 3 years in a row on his birthday. You're going to see him grow up. I met a kid named Cameron Pritchard. He just graduated high school. We met in Indianapolis when I played in Indy, and he was about that age. He was about 4 or 5, and you see it, and it doesn't make, like, people think, oh, well, if he's friends with Rowdy Tellez, he's going to be the best player ever. Like, no, it just makes a relationship. It makes another person a fan of baseball, which I think is awesome by Rowdy, who's a big fella, so he has to have a big heart.
Agreed. So shout out to Rowdy. We'll have him back on the show soon. Kratz, which has tough competition today because Jonny Gomes was bringing it earlier.
I guess I knew he was bringing it earlier because I wore the best Copa Diversión ever. It's the Coquis. It's dating back to the Puerto Rican heritage, and so the team wore the Coquis because it's from Puerto Rico. It's a little frog, and they call them Coquis. Coquis, and they go Coqui, 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 Coqui all night.
Yeah, which is annoying, but they're cute and cool to look at.
And it makes a cool
especially
hat.
on a hat. Yeah, it does make a really cool hat. I like the pink. The colors pop. Always get an extra grade if it's something that you could wear at a music festival. So I will give it maybe a B+.
Yeah, I knew it.
Yeah, I was close to A-, but I like frogs. Besides Kermit,
You're afraid of
frogs. I'm not obsessed with frogs. I'm definitely not afraid of frogs.
You're afraid of frogs. I can see it in your face.
Not even poisonous frogs. Some people lick a poisonous frog or something? No.
What?
I don't know. I'm probably going down a weird path.
No, that's weird. You get a wart on your tongue.
That's not a thing. Just in case you're slumping. You
Never
just need a little pick me up. Not a slump buster.
Frogs are gross.
Okay, just making sure. Anyway, kiss a frog to make a prince. Good call. Make it a prince. Yes, kids, that's what you should pay attention to. But don't lick frogs, just in general.
Don't lick frogs.
We don't
even if
condone
Scotty
that
says to, don't lick frogs.
Yeah, don't listen to me on almost anything. Maybe a little bit of baseball, but that's it.
No, baseball for sure. Scotty knows his ball.
I don't pay attention to anything else. So thanks again to everyone for watching on Bally Sports TV and the Bally Sports app. If you're here on YouTube, stick around for a moment. We'll give you a little bonus chat, and we'll send you to Dodgers territory very soon, which, of course, they'll talk about Shohei Ohtani, among other topics. So see you, everyone. Here we are, back for 2 minutes. We're going to send you to Dodgers territory in, 2 minutes. Alana Rizzo and Clint Pasillas are standing by. Alana also was hosting Fair Territory earlier today. So if you want to check out that show, you can find it pretty easily on our very well-organized YouTube channel. Oh, we do have Shohei Ohtani video in perhaps something that you didn't expect to see, or that maybe you did not catch. But that guy did. Look at the Bat Boy save Shohei Ohtani's life. And then do you see Shohei's interpreter? I think his name's Jeff. Be like, oh, I almost lost my job.
He almost didn't have anybody to interpret for.
I know.
Shohei's like, tip of the year for you. Because you got tip guys at the end of the series. Shohei's been raking too. 10 straight games with a steak. He's sitting there like, you're a little bit more loose with your wallet when you're hitting. Shohei's giving my guy a good tip, especially being in Chicago there. Like, I don't understand. Everybody bailed, and this dude just went straight, just two-hand piece.
I'm looking for the caption from Baseball America because they posted this clip yesterday. It was really good. It had something to do with, here it is. The Dodgers got bored with being a player development machine and have now turned their attention to Bat Boys.
That's what's great. The other year where they went to the Yankees went to Cleveland, and the Bat Boy has super, super long hair. And somebody was commenting on the fact that, oh man, how can they let the Yankees Bat Boy? People, that is not the Dodgers ball boy. It's a great comment. That's hilarious. They don't bring their own ball boy. It is somebody that works in the clubhouse who absolutely hustles, just like in Cleveland, the guy that had long hair, or when the Yankees have a bat boy with a beard. It is not their ball boy or bat boy.
Exactly. They'll talk about this on Dodgers territory. Ohtani, at least. Maybe not the ball boy, bat boy debate and discussion. But Clint and Alana bringing it as always. Looking forward to watching right now from our friends. Kratz, good job. And we will see you on Friday. I'll be back at Frazier's spot. So Frazier Friday coming up. See everyone then.